All right, welcome everyone to 5 years of hope, a candid conversation with the Chaplaincy Program. I am Pastor Alexis Twito, and I'm the program coordinator for the Salvation Army's Milwaukee Chaplaincy Program. And I'm really excited to be here with you today with some special guests who we'll get to meet in just a moment. We'll just keep waiting a little bit for more of you to sign in and to start viewing with us, but we're really glad that you can be here. This is a really exciting time for us. Our program is experiencing 5 years of being active as a ministry in Milwaukee to support those who've been affected by trauma and violence. And we are just so proud of the work we've been able to do in these 5 years. Just 5 years ago, we were just finishing a week-long training at the Safety Academy where 51 of us learned a little bit about emotional and spiritual care and how to provide spiritual and psychological first aid. We learned about the workings of the police and how to interact with them. And 5 years later, here we are. We have 55 active chaplains in our program right now. After 133 in these 5 years have been trained. These 55 chaplains are coming from a diverse amount of backgrounds. They are Black, white, Asian, and Hispanic. They range in age from 30 to 80, and they come from all different religious traditions from all over the parts of our city. And we're really excited that we get to keep doing this ministry. In these 5 years of our chaplaincy program, we have responded to 375 emergency call-outs from the police. Wow. And of those, about a third of those have been homicide scenes. We respond to everything in addition to homicide, including suicides, fatal accidents, drug overdoses, infant deaths, any type of situation where people have experienced emotional or spiritual trauma and need some care. And it is a privilege and an honor to do that work and to have been doing it for 5 years. So we thank you for joining us again. We are here for 5 years of hope, a candid conversation with the Chaplaincy Program. I am your host, Pastor Alexis Twito, and I have with me special guests. I'm going to let them take a moment to introduce themselves. So we'll start ladies first. So would one of you two ladies like to begin?
My name is Teresa Scott. I work with the local nonprofit Safe and Sound as a neighborhood safety coordinator. I've been a chaplain with the Chaplaincy Program for a little over a year. And one of the reasons why I wanted to become a chaplain is because I was so involved in tragedies and life events going on within the community that I really wanted to be a part of an organization that was doing that had the structure to it. How I got here.
Wonderful. And we're so grateful that you and your husband joined on as a chaplain team. So thanks, Teresa.
Hi, I'm Selena Zanuzzi. I am a community victim witness advocate with the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office. I've been there a little over 6.5 years. Prior to the current position I'm in, I worked on the crisis response unit. The crisis response unit is available to respond to any type of crime-related incident, unexplained deaths, similar to responses that the Chaplaincy Program goes out to. And we provide information about community resources, criminal justice processes. We help people with crime victim compensation. In my current role, I get to do something a little different. I get to follow the victim through the court process as well. My current position allows me to work in 6 neighborhoods with victims of gun violence. I became connected with Pastor Alexis after a homicide in my neighborhood in 2013. She actually helped our neighborhood group lead a prayer walk. And then we got to work together again in 2014 when Inspector Jackson asked us to assist the Peterson family. And I believe we just kind of stayed in touch through the years. And I would say was really excited when I heard the chaplaincy program was formally organizing do wonderful things, and I'm happy to be included in today's conversation. So thank you.
Thanks, Selena. All right, who would like to go next?
I'll jump in. My name is Kevin Stewart. It is good to be with you all. And I provide leadership for the Episcopal Diocese of Milwaukee for community engagement, which means I am out and about in the community, which is my primary role in building bridges, forming relationships. And I first learned about the program being out in the community at a community event from one of the chaplains. And we struck up a conversation. He further introduced himself. He mentioned his program. And so I just, I paid attention to that. And eventually I reached out to Pastor Alexis and was given the opportunity to serve as one of the volunteer chaplains.
Well, hello everyone. What an honor to be here and join everyone. I'm Jutiki Jackson, formerly Captain and Inspector Jackson for the Milwaukee Police Department. And it's such an honor to be here with everyone and talk about and relive some of the great moments of the Chaplaincy Program. So I was one of the founding members with some other members of the Salvation Army at the time. And the program has since taken off and has done wonderful things and just continue to bring joy and happiness to not only myself for being a part of the program, but for so many victims of homicide and some of the other terrible things that occur in the city, as well as being just a positive, motivating beacon of light for so many in different neighborhoods throughout the city. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, well, if you are just tuning in with us, we are having 5 years of hope, a candid conversation with the Chaplaincy Program. And I hope that you are as excited to hear from our guests as I am to hear about their reflections. So thank you again to Chaplains Teresa and Kevin, and to Selena from the DA's office, and to retired Inspector Jutiki Jackson from the Milwaukee Police Department. We just are grateful that you're here. And so now we're just going to jump in. We have some questions that have been generated from community conversation, and so we're just going to go forward and jump right in. And my first question is actually for my two chaplains here. And my question for you is, what originally drew you to the chaplaincy program, and what has kept you involved in it in the time that you have done?
Well, as I stated in my introduction, a big part of it was the structure part. You know, I wanted to be out here and be a big part of helping the community, but then that structure of it, we would leave a scene with family members and community members grieving, and we would just kind of walk away with nothing. What happens after this? So I like the structure part of the program. It helps to be able to build relationships times in their lives. And I like that part. I like being able to even be there for the community. I've learned over the last year that people who live next door to where crimes or, you know, difficult things have happened, those people are affected too. So the community, it helps me to know that I'm serving my community as well. And one of the things that keeps me with the program is that I like helping people whatever way I can. Sometimes it might just be a quiet presence. I might just be standing next to a family member, not saying much, but I know that my presence means a lot. And then Pastor Alexis, your leadership is a big part of it too. So, you know, you keep us engaged, you keep us informed, you keep us motivated, you check in on the chaplains on a regular basis. And that's good for morale, you know, with the types of things that we deal with, both those hard things and event-wise. So I just want to give you a shout out too, because you are a big part of why we stay.
Thank you. That means a lot. Kevin, do you have anything to add about your experience with the program, what brought you in and what keeps you?
It was a conversation that introduced me to the chaplaincy program. But if we're having a candid conversation, excuse me, then I'll be candid. I received the information and I figuratively put it on the shelf. I thought that sounded nice, but I don't know. No, I tried to kick it out, let it go, and it wouldn't let go of me. So it was that figurative voice I heard within me, that in religious language call, that I finally said yes to. And that's why I'm here, in words that I just don't have to articulate specifically. It's just about the divine presence, and I'm here. What I've experienced are people, fellow chaplains, who care deeply. They help me to remain involved, to stay engaged. But at the end of the day, by being on scene with my fellow chaplains, it's a tear, it's a hug. And I know that we're in pandemic, but it's a hug, it's a handshake, it's a word of appreciation, it's a smile seen that keeps me involved.
Well said. Thank you so much.
I have a question for Inspector Jackson. Can you share with us how the program has benefited the police department and the Milwaukee community?
Absolutely. Thank you, Teresa, for the question. And if I can start by dovetailing what Kevin just articulated, that was phenomenal. And that's like one of the top reasons to bring this program full circle, like we were able to do. So one of the greatest joys and the benefits that police officers receive from the chaplaincy program is just knowing that we are able to serve members of the community, serve people that are going through a traumatic event on an even higher level, right? I'm sure a lot of people have heard me mention in the past that when officers get to a scene, we have a tough responsibility to investigate the crime that's taken place. And after the crime has been investigated, very often we have to move on to the next assignment. We have to move on to the next thing that needs to be done, thereby leaving the family to deal with the pain of losing a loved one or dealing with a traumatic incident all by themselves. Again, one of the greatest joys that I receive from this program and other police officers is knowing the fact that chaplains arrive on a scene, they can pick up where officers have left off and provide that emotional and spiritual care to the families. And just knowing that from a personal standpoint, knowing that the family is going to be taken care of by chaplains really does great things for the heart, right? We know that the family is going to be taken care of. During the time of the development of the program, there were challenges in the community with the Milwaukee Police Department. Going to be honest about it. One of the things that the chaplaincy program has allowed us to do is to show the community that police officers, the Milwaukee Police Department, really cares about the community. They care about the people who live in the community, various neighborhoods. It doesn't make a difference where people come from, but it gave us an opportunity to partner and work closely with members of the community to serve other people in the community. So just a phenomenal perspective and the ability to again bring it full circle.
Thank you for that.
Selena, how has the chaplaincy program supported the work or mission of the district attorney's office?
Well, the DA's office, like a lot of organizations, has a mission statement. One of the main focuses is promoting public safety through the fair and just prosecution of criminal offenses. But another tenet of that mission statement talks about promoting citizens' participation in sustainable neighborhoods by treating people who come into contact with the criminal justice system with fairness, dignity, and respect. I think that the chaplaincy program has been really helpful in helping us connect with the community, with community resources, with faith-based organizations. They've also been really instrumental in helping us be connected with family members and community members who have been impacted by grief, loss, and violence. People who sometimes are forgotten about because the chaplains are there. They're connecting with people and families and have been really good about raising a hand and saying, hey, what about this person? Or what about this family member? Has anybody reached out? Are services available for these people? And I think that that has been instrumental in helping us do that, in bringing us together in terms of organizations, grassroots community organizers. There's a lot of behind the scenes communication that has happened, and I think that that is actually increasing and improving. And I think at the hub of it has been the chaplaincy program.
We really appreciate that work that you do in similar spheres, and so thank you for sharing that, Selena.
Sure.
I have a question for Alexis. As the program coordinator for the chaplaincy program, during the last 5 years, it's a two-part question. The first part is, what has been your greatest challenges, number one, and then number two, what has brought you the most joy from the program?
Well, I could speak on these questions for many hours, but I would say some of my challenges you have already mentioned in the creation of this program. When I first began as the coordinator, there were significant community challenges to overcome. Not the least of which was that a lot of people in the community didn't know what to do with our program or what to expect from us, and I think not unnecessarily so. I mean, I think that they wondered about us and what our objectives were and what our motivations were, and one of our challenges has been to be consistent and constant and to do what we do well with integrity every day, day in and day out, and to build those relationships with partners in the police department, in the DA's office, with other faith community leaders, and with community grassroots organizers and the victims and their families. I think our biggest challenge, my biggest challenge as coordinator, has been to help the community get to know our program and to learn to trust us. And we've had some uphill battles with that, but I'm really proud of where we've come. To what Selena was recently mentioning, in the last year especially, we have seen more coordinated crisis response in our city than ever before. And we are so proud to be a part of that and to be working alongside so many different people. And so where it once was my biggest challenge, I think we've come a long way, and people have started to really learn who we are and what we're about. And we are here to provide emergency crisis emotional and spiritual care, to stand in the gap with people in those immediate moments after trauma has spiked and hit in their life, and then to try to connect them to other resources in the community. That is our role. And now that people understand that and have seen that over 5 years, we're experiencing much better trust in the community. So I would say that has been a challenge, and then a success. I think my greatest joy has been working with the chaplains that I have. I brag about them all the time, and I'm so proud. They are the most incredible group of people who are sincerely dedicated to serving this community, from various theological backgrounds, ethnic, racial backgrounds, different socioeconomic classes. They're coming from all different career paths, and yet they have a common goal and a common mission to serve people. And I just have loved working with them. We have done 375 emergency call outs, but last year alone, in addition to the emergency scenes we went to, we did 87 community events that we attended. So they are people who show up for this community, for this city. And my greatest joy has been working with them over these 5 years. So thanks for letting me brag on them again, and for sharing.
Absolutely.
I have a question for the chaplains. I wanted to ask the chaplains, how do you manage the stress and the weight of all of the difficult things that you experience as a crisis chaplain? And what are some things that you do to take care of yourselves?
That's a good question.
So for me, being from the faith community myself, I do lean on that. But then naturally, I have an opportunity to kind of debrief with my husband because he's a chaplain too. So we kind of get to talk about what happened, how we felt about it, you know, the good and the bad. With the family. So I think for me, it helps having a partner out here with me. And then, taking care of my physical body, I try to get some rest. I'm trying to exercise more. I'm trying not to just think about the negative or the bad that happened, but then what can I do to help on the good side? And if it's not for that family, the next family or another family that I might encounter. So those are some of the things, those are some of the ways I debrief. My first time going out was just unexpected for me, and I kind of was just thrown into the fire. And I remember Pastor Alexis just calling me afterwards and just saying, well, how do you feel about that? I was able to talk through it with her. And I think for me, a big part of it is just being able to talk to somebody. My mother asks me questions all the time. Well, what happens? Well, how do you feel when you with friends, family members, and coworkers? So that's a big part for me.
I too find it very helpful to talk to people I trust. Not so much about what I saw, but about how people might have felt and how I felt. I know what I saw, I recognize what I heard, but I sense what I feel. And to share those stories of looks in eyes, of a hopelessness or of a loss, again, there really are no words for. And for me to say, I just don't have the words to express how people might have felt or how I feel. Just to say I don't have the words and let somebody listen is helpful to me. So certainly I share that with the fellow chaplains. They get it, and others I trust in my life. Sometimes I don't try to manage it, and I just have a good cry or get angry. Okay? And sometimes I've got a backyard. It's not that large, but I'm up there in years, so it's large enough and I'm old enough that I've got a little riding lawnmower, so I'll get on my lawnmower and go mow the yard.
Sounds good. Your wife probably appreciates the added chores that get done.
Yeah, well, I did some rototilling this past weekend, so she's just ecstatic, and I am ready to go. Alexis, send me out.
I would say, similar to what the both of you have said, for me, the chatting about it, the debriefing, the sharing that with others is important for me as well. But when I'm feeling the weight and the stress of things, I find that I have to go get away for a little bit. And one of my favorite places to get away is to go to the lakefront or to the river. I like to be by water. And that just is a really safe place for me and a really serene, holy place. And so I go someplace that brings me joy. I, being a raging extrovert, try to surround myself with people who bring me joy. So I, spend time with the niece and nephews or my mom or, the people who I love. Now that has been more challenging during this pandemic. But even just sitting in the outside of someone's driveway and chatting from a distance during this time has been really helpful. But finding those things that give me energy and joy, and recognizing that it's okay to not be okay in this moment, like Kevin said, like sometimes you're not having a great day, and to just own that is really helpful. So that's what I do. All right. So I thank you all for these questions and your reflections. I would like to hear from everyone. It's been 5 years, and we have all had a relationship with the program for, a period of time. And I would love us to kind of look back and reflect on one of the most memorable experiences you've had with the chaplaincy program, or one of the most significant experiences that you recall, and why. So if anyone wants to go and share, some experience for you that, always sticks in your mind as being, just a, key event for the chaplaincy program for you in your experience, or something that really captures your experience and time with the program.
I can start. So being there from the very beginning, having an opportunity to be a part of and witness a number of deployments, I was certainly touched by many of them. Some of the scenes, as you all know, are very traumatic, and there's often an overcome of grief. So chaplains showing up and being there, there's this imprint, there's this memory that I have of several incidents, and we don't need to live any of those incidents, but some people that have been a part of the program, some of the incidents that you've been involved in, and you were there, and I was there as a witness, and I was able to see the phenomenal work that was done. But above all, the one incident or the time period that really stands out, obviously, is the civil demonstrations and the riots that we had. The chaplains showed up every day and made a significant impact in the dialogue that the police department and other city officials were trying to make with family members, with the neighborhood. It was just the dialogue and the outreach that took place. It was a great thing to witness and be a part of. So that will always stand out to me as one of the most memorable time periods, because it wasn't just one day or a few hours. It was a span of several days that the chaplains had to show up and get involved. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Yes, that was, I think we were, for 12 straight days, we were there in the Sherman Park area at the request of the police department and the mayor's office. And I think you're right. I think that particular event catalyzed our program in such a way that really solidified our base and our understanding of our purpose, and then really helped us connect better with community partners. It's where I think I met Teresa and Tim for the first time, just as community members who live nearby, and and as I too live in that neighborhood, and so does Selena. We all live over there. So so thank you for sharing that, Inspector Jackson.
Welcome.
Who else has a significant event?
For me, it's been so many times, countless times, showing up on scene or other events related to something and seeing the red vests and knowing the chaplains are there, and being able to connect with you and saying, okay, who else needs help? Because sometimes there aren't enough of us. And things can get a little chaotic sometimes, but I'm always left afterwards thinking about how we've all done the best we can, to try to help in ways that we can through unimaginable things. And, you know, that whole quote about Mr. Rogers and looking for the helpers, you see the red vests and you know the helpers are there. And just knowing that we can coordinate together to try to figure out small ways, the ways that the chaplains have shown up with water, with hot chocolate, just at times when people needed those things and didn't even know that they needed them.
Yeah, I've really appreciated times when there are times when you will have found out about something that's happened in the community before we have, or maybe we didn't get called to it, but you called and said, hey, we could use your support, or vice versa. And, you know, I've really appreciated that partnership. And there's a couple of key families that I can really think of in the last few years that are really meaningful to me. And, you know, some of those families I'm still connected with. And so, and our chaplains are still connected with. So, so yeah, thank you for sharing.
My most memorable moment came via the telephone. I was familiar with being out in the community, being on call, physically present, being at community events. But once this pandemic hit, the chaplaincy program started a chaplain support line, otherwise stated we're available by telephone. And it was in one of those telephone calls that I received that was my most memorable moment. I spoke with a lady who called, we'll call her Betty. Was on the phone for about an hour. I didn't say much. She's elderly. She lives in her own home. She has food to eat. She has a car to drive. She has family that loves her. But she talked about being so alone. And she cried. And she said, I need a friend. As I think about all of us who go out into the community, called on scene at community events, at Salvation Army chaplain meetings, on this event today, when we're there, we look into one another's eyes, and I'm reminded that isn't that what we're all asking for and needing? A friend.
Thank you. I think that is so beautifully said. And it's been such a hard transition for us to imagine what it means to be public in the community doing this kind of work when people are afraid to go out but to be able to provide this kind of emotional and spiritual care, even by the phone, recognizing that people need support in all sorts of different ways, and that this program has grown and developed in such that we are not only just at crime scenes now, but we're available for this kind of emotional and spiritual support. Is really, really awesome that we've been able to do that. So thanks for sharing about your experience with Betty.
Thank
Teresa,
you.
do you have a significant or memorable event or moment?
Yeah, I do. I was just thinking about in the last month, we responded to a scene. You know, we all heard about it. Several family members were killed. So many different people. I had an opportunity to talk with some of the family members. I had an opportunity to talk to some people from the community about what happened and how they were feeling. But what was kind of special for me is because, you know, me working for Safe and Sound, I actually work out of Police District number 5. And this tragedy happened in District 5. So I showed up in my chaplain jacket. And so these officers I work with on a daily basis. But after being at that scene for a while, I was able to have some good conversations with the officers and just asking them, I know you guys, I know how you doing anything for you. It was a very stressful situation, but it was very memorable to me because I was able to touch those three pillars that are important to me: the family, grieving, my community members that I see and work with all the time, and then the officers that I work with in the community. You know, they saw me in a different light as well. But I thought it was memorable that I was able to see if they needed any assistance and just put my hand on their shoulders, not as a stranger, but, you know, or just a chaplain, but somebody who they knew on a different level. So that was why I was.
Yeah, that was a tough scene, and we, especially in the middle of this crisis, you know, to needs. I mean, we had a large turnout of chaplains, but it was new, and having to mask up and be out there, and it was definitely difficult. You know, I echo what all of you have said. I think those are all, you know, profound moments in the program. I think for me, as coordinator of the program, I mean, so I've been a chaplain even before I was the coordinator. I was out there volunteering and was in the same place that Kevin and Teresa are, and loved that. But I think for me, some of the more memorable moments as coordinator, there are two that that really stick out in my mind. And one was when the son of one of our chaplains was murdered. And our chaplain, Brenda Hines, Brenda Hines has been with us since the beginning of this program, way back in the day before the program even started, with when Captain Jackson was leading the faith-based initiative in District 7. You know, we've been together all this time, and when she lost her son in 2017, that was a really hard time for our program. And it was a real challenge for us to, you know, experience this personally, you know, that you know, trauma and tragedy strike all of us. And so to be able to be there for her and to support her and to have all the chaplains come around her, that was a really significant time for us as a program, and for me as a pastor and as a coordinator of the program. That was a significant time for us. So I think the other significant event that I can have come to mind was our involvement in the support after the mass shooting at Miller Brewery. When that shooting occurred, what I experienced as coordinator was the fruits of all of the years of relationship building and trust building that we had done in the community, so that we saw not only did the police department call us to respond immediately in the aftermath of the shooting, and we were providing support for the employees as they were clearing out the Miller Coors Brewery, but we also were brought in for 2 weeks to provide emotional and spiritual crisis support for the employees for the 2 weeks after. And we did so many hours of support. And for me, that was such an important event for us, because it really showed how far the program had come, and that we are embedded now into this city's crisis response when things like that happen. And the fact that we were able to partner on the scene and in the aftermath with the Red Cross and the Office of Violence Prevention and the DA's trauma response unit and the county, you know, trauma response team and behavioral health division, and all of these community partners working alongside us so that we can provide the most comprehensive crisis response. It was just awesome to be a part of that. And so for me, that's another significant event for the program, for me personally as a coordinator, to be able to facilitate that kind of level of support for our city. Do any of you have any other questions? We've asked a lot. I have one final one, but I wanted to give you all a chance to ask any other questions. All right.
Bring on the final one.
Bring on the final one. Okay, well, so again, we thank everyone who's been tuning in. We hope that you have found this a rewarding conversation to listen and be a part of. I know I have found that. We're here for 5 years of hope, a candid conversation with the chaplaincy program. So my last question to discuss is, why does hope matter? Why does hope matter? And why does Milwaukee need people who can offer hope in the midst of tragedy and loss right now? So this is up for anyone who chooses to answer, but why does hope matter, and why does Milwaukee need it so much right now?
I started the last time. Someone else has to go.
Okay, I'll go. When we were talking about all of this, I thought about a book I read, The Alchemist. I don't know if anybody's read it. It's a good book. And there was a quote in there that I really like. And it says, when we love, we strive to become better than we are. And when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. And that's why I think hope is important. Hope is the thing that keeps us moving forward, keeps us trying to connect, keeps us trying new ways, new things. Hope is the thing that pulls us up when we're feeling kind of low. And if we can continue to try to extend that and show people that there is hope, I do think we can bring about positive change to people who would really like to see it. So that's it.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing it. I'm gonna have to go pick up The Alchemist. I haven't read it in a while.
Where did you go? There you go.
Why does hope matter? Because sometimes it feels as if it hurts too much to hope. I know for me, and I suspect for everyone, we've had a moment, a time, a season, for our own reasons, a feeling as if it hurts too much to hope. Hope is needed for those moments, and we help one another to hope. I'm a Milwaukee transplanted some 20 years ago, and I love living in Milwaukee, great people in Milwaukee, but Milwaukee's got some issues also. And one of those issues that I've heard by people born and raised here, a lot of people born and raised here, has been about a level of hopelessness in Milwaukee that they may not have seen before, or who can't recall seeing that depth of it. So for all those reasons, named or unnamed, we need to come alongside and be present. And being present can be a hopeful presence, especially in times when it feels as if it hurts too much to hope.
Well said. I heard this acronym for hope, HOPE, hang on, pain ends. And I think there's something about that that is important to know, that even though we may be overwhelmed by the burdens that we're experiencing, it's not forever. And for those of us who are people of faith, we hope and we believe that that God has a purpose for us, and that God has a plan, and that this pain is not God's will, and this not God's intention, and that there is this promise of life and abundant life and blessing. And so hang on, pain ends.
Good. I believe that hope is extremely important as well. for all of the reasons that were already mentioned. But just to build on the thought, in a society of hopelessness, I don't think we would ever see, you know, what man or what people, the bottom of what moral depravity would actually be, right? I mean, we need something, like you mentioned, Pastor Alexis. We need something to keep us focused on our purpose, and therefore tie into hope, because if we don't have direction in our lives, if we're just floating about without purpose or without hope, again, some really terrible things can happen. If people don't realize that they matter to other people, they are loved, they are needed in society. And without that, it could be a lot worse.
Teresa, do you have any final thoughts for us, or are you going to sit on?
I think for me, you know, okay, I was just saying that hope is, like, for me, the engine that, you know, keeps us going, you know, to have some hope and to never give up, and hope in all forms, you know, the hope in seeing other people doing, you know, sometimes seeing a smile from a stranger, you know, can give you hope. And just being there with people, it just gives me hope. And if we don't have that, you know, it's hard to go on another day. So I hope that, you know, in spite of, you know, what our experiences are, that we don't lose that, and we continue just to look for that everywhere we go, every scene, every event, when we go to work, when we wake up in the morning. I hope that we will just continue to see that hope, and that we could share it with other people. And I believe that if you share it with people, it'll be contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of it is that it will keep going. Here, I just know I have to do my part and encourage the people that I come in contact with and the people around me to do their part. And I think if we all did that, we would see the change that we hope to see.
Thank you. I do. I think that hope is contagious too. And, you know, with what you said and with what Selena first started by saying, that it's about, you know, when we strive to be better, we become better. And, you know, when we believe that, and it shares and it grows, and that's powerful. So I thank you all for being a part of building hope in our city, because you five, you know, us, you know, you four, in this around this conversation have been a really big part of that, and our chaplaincy program and the lives we've touched. It's just been a real privilege to be a part of this for the last 5 years, and so I thank you. 5 years of hope, a candid conversation with the chaplaincy program. I thank you. And, you know, I wonder, maybe some of those people who are tuning in, maybe you wonder, like I do, about what is the next 5 years going to bring? And where can this program go, you know, in the next 5 years? You know, what types of things will we be doing? What are our hopes and our dreams and our prayers for this program? So our final thoughts, I will ask you all to respond. What would you say is your wish, hope, or prayer for the next 5 years of this program? Final thoughts.
I'll start.
Excellent.
My hope and wish for the program is not only that it continues in Milwaukee and continues to grow, and the partnership continues to grow with the Milwaukee Police Department, with the Fire Department, with other city organizations, Office of Violence Prevention, but that the program continues to expand as well. There are a number of cities across the United States that continue to experience the violence that we see here in Milwaukee, and something needs to be done. And this is the very type of program that can go into those cities and bring hope to those families, build relationships, not only with the police department, but with the community, and again, put forth tremendous effort to bring everyone together. So that's what I would like to see over the next 5 years.
Great.
I did on some of those thoughts. I would like to see the program just so and outside of Milwaukee County because there's stuff going on all over the state, all over the country. So that's a short one for me.
Hey, that's a good wish and hope.
I've been thinking about the words written by author Anne Lamott. She wrote, the words are, hope begins in the dark. The stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, dawn will come. You wait, you watch, and you work. You don't give up. So that is my wish, my hope, and my prayer for this program. The people of this program will continue to show up and do the right thing and be with our sisters and brothers so that dawn will come for them.
Thank you. Selena, what's your hope or prayer for the next 5 years of the program?
Well, I think Inspector Jackson kind of touched on something that I thought I would like to see is an expansion of the program to other areas and other communities that could really benefit from something like this. Another thing that I would like to see and hope to see is our continued partnership with each other and a lot of the other agencies that we've been coordinating with lately. Some good things are coming together, and with that, I think we can really bring about some good change, some real change. Your hashtag is doing the most good, and I'm hopeful that a bunch of us can still continue to work together to spread that message.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's one of my goals for this program. One of my hopes is that we will continue to keep partnering well with the community, that we will be a part of an intentional, coordinated crisis response so that no one falls through the cracks, so that those who are affected by trauma and violence in our community really do get the hope that they need. We have started conversations about expansion, and before this program, for our anniversary, we were hoping to be able to announce the expansion of a program into Waukesha, but it had to be postponed because the final training for that program happened during this crisis, and so we weren't able to get it off the ground just yet. But we do have plans to expand the first sort of satellite program in Waukesha, and working with both their fire and police departments there. So we're really excited that, you know, these next 5 years, perhaps we'll see some more of that, sharing this program. My prayer is that, very similar to what Kevin said, my prayer is that our chaplains continue to serve in the best of their capability, that the people who are drawn to wanting to walk with those in crisis to provide emotional and spiritual care will continue to join our program and will continue to provide the best care that they can in this community, and that they really will be able to bring hope and continue to do that. Since mid-2018, which is when we started collecting data on how many people we've been impacting, we've impacted in 2.5 years, over 3,000 individuals through our program, just through the emergency call-outs from the police. That's 3,000 lives that have been touched by what we have done. And my hope and my prayer is that we will continue to do that into the years to come, so that no one ever has to doubt that that they are loved, so that they don't have to doubt that they belong, that they are not alone. We want people to know we are here. You're not alone. You are loved, and there is a community here that supports you, and we want to help connect people into all the resources that can help them move through their pain into their new, into a new life and to a new future for them. So from our lips to God's ears, right? Those are big, nice hopes, and I have no reason to believe that the next 5 years won't be as blessed and as fruitful as the first 5 years have been. So again, thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time today to join us and to talk candidly about what this program has meant to Milwaukee and to you personally. And I thank all of you who have taken the time out of your day to tune in with us. And we thank you for the comments that you have been sharing and your well wishes and your prayers that you have for us. And please continue to keep our chaplains in your prayers, as well as all the people in our community who are affected by trauma and violence. So we thank you. We will sign off at this time. And again, we just wish you a good rest of the day, and God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.